Welcome to the Montana Wizard Podcast, where today I talk about relaxing in Montana. First, a message from our sponsor, Mountain Wizard, where you can buy magical Montana merch online at mountainwizardllc.com on their Shopify store. So today we're going to be talking about relaxing, and more or less from my own experiences, and just more in the Montana sense. Some of the weird things is, I'll start out with being around Fairfield. You live on the Rocky Mountain front, which means you get the part of the mountains and then part of the plain side of things. And starting a little bit closer to home, where there is drain ditches, one of the most relaxing things was to get an inner tube on a hot day and go floating down the drain ditches, where you get to smell the crops growing and hear grasshoppers flying through the wind as you just float down the rivers. Occasionally, you'll have to get out sometimes because drain ditches are dangerous in some locations and stuff. But it was one of the more relaxing things of being able to do that. And yes, the water is from Gibson Reservoir, which is a very, very cold lake/reservoir, where all the snow runoff flows into it. So, yeah, that water was colder than most rivers and lakes in the area. But still, it was one of those fun things where you get to relax on a tube or even swim, and it's about, I'm trying to think, maybe it's about 3 feet of water, depending on which drain ditch you go. I tended to like to float down the more medium-sized ones rather than the large ones, because the large ones have drops on them, which can be dangerous at times. Some other relaxing things would be, if you're ever from the this is more for a country person, if you are on the countryside and just the smell of like cut alfalfa or even just manure, which is kind of a weird one, where you get a little bit of that ammonia and stuff, that to me is more relaxing. But I was also raised around horses and just in the area and stuff, so it's more of a homey than relaxing sort of deal. Speaking of horses, we'd even going on horse rides just through the mountains and stuff, just hearing the clicking and clopping of the hooves going down the rocky trail, and just the smell of fresh air coming off the pine trees with that fresh pine scent is just very relaxing. Even going in the mountains, going more towards the cold, as now we're getting a little bit of a cold front after this very, very hot winter. It is more rolled around hunting and stuff, where you have all this big, huge, heavy winter clothes, where it could be from around close to the 30s. Well, you probably won't be wearing that much clothes until you get more in the single digits and then negatives and stuff like that. But just having that heavy winter hunting clothes and stuff, and finding a nice, I'm trying to think what it's called, a juniper bush, where it has pine needles and stuff, and you wouldn't think it's too comfortable, but laying in your hunting clothes where it can't pierce through is one of the most relaxing things. And just having that sun poke through the clouds, and yes, you are supposed to be hunting and stuff, but not every time you're going to see the wildlife coming through 24/7 stuff. They are being hunted, so yeah, it's part of the sport. So finding some thing to relax about, especially when you're either stressful hunting for hiking in for like 5 to 10 miles, depending on where you're going and where you're at, it can feel good to just sit down and relax sometimes. Even while we're hunting, when you get all the way in and it's getting about noon, you're not hunting at that point, you're just kind of recovering and stuff from the long hike. Having a little bologna sandwich was always a good memory and stuff. Just, it's relaxing and just peaceful to me. Even going to lakes growing up, I was always told when I was a baby I'd fall asleep to the engine or sound of the engine of the boat when we go on our annual family vacation stuff. And even to this stage, riding in boats and just hearing the motor is probably about the most relaxing sound to me. It about puts me to sleep, and it's about the only vehicle that can possibly put me to sleep. But yeah, even just lakes in general are very relaxing, and especially when it's warm. And that can change, especially during the summer. We see, well, I have now seen snow in every single month of the year. I think my last one I was waiting on to see snow in was, I think, August, which it's not one of those relaxing things, but even just seeing the pretty snowfall and stuff. Because sometimes during the winter we'd go and you just lay down in the snow and relax as the sun just beats on your face, and it's just very warm and relaxing. A lot of it is finding the joys in just wet weathers and stuff. Montana always has had extreme weather. I mean, this year is a prime example of extreme weather is when summer is, or winter is about as hot as summer, where you get about to 70 degrees during January, and fire seasons even starting and stuff. But learning to just relax when there's a crazy storm, and even just seeing like the rain or wind blow has always been kind of relaxing to me. Yes, it can be stressful at times, especially when you're worried about something blowing away, but that kind of comes with living around here and just relaxing and being around the weather. Even just going camping and stuff, you sit around the campfire, even just in your own backyard. Just hearing the crackle and seeing the flames and stuff is also relaxing as well. Just the smell of smoke and all that is very relaxing to most people I have met that live in Montana. It's just more of a way of life where you live in a very, very extreme place where your house could disappear at any second, so you have to find the joy and just learn to relax majority of the time. But yeah, right now it's very, very cold compared to what it was last week, where we're jumping from the 60s to 70s to now we're going to single digits to negatives, which it's more normal. When the more abnormal the weather is in Montana, the more normal it is what I always say. So, but even just feeling the cold and stuff breeze against your cheeks. I even talked with my wife, which it's interesting to see how many different cultures there are in Montana and stuff, where she lived in Helena and she was freaking out over the wind, and I'm like, this is a breeze, I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, no, it's not, it's wind. And her mom turned around and was like, nope, it's what they experience living on the Rocky Mountain front is 60 mile hours is about time wind starts picking up. But yeah, even during the wind and stuff, you get used to it, where it just feels good. You feel the cold biting at your cheeks, and it's almost a form of therapeutic at this point. Even jumping back down to the summer and stuff, just how dry it gets a lot of the times, where you could be in the most humid part of the state, and then you can be in a part of the state that turns into a desert, which, like I said, you go off the mountains and then you go into the plains, and the plains are more closer to a desert than an actual plains. But in Fairfield, we make do with it because you have the irrigation, the GID and stuff, which also helps a lot. Which we're hoping we get a little bit more snow by the time summer gets, or else Montana might be a little bit on fire this year. Possibly in June. Well, it already is last month, but we're making do with it, and the cold is helping a lot with it. But even just going to the rivers and stuff and seeing just flowing water and stuff and just hearing the trickling of the water is also a very relaxing stuff, which is more why I like the irrigation, where it put water where there wasn't and just made a lot of stuff just more relaxing, green. Even when I was a kid, I remember going into the mountains and stuff, and there was this, we call them camp robbers, but they looked like gray parrots, and they were always interesting to mess around with, where they would try to steal our food and stuff, and it turned into a game where we would put put chunks of pancake on our head because they're trying to steal it anyway. So they would land on our heads and just like having a big giant gray parrot. But finding the joys in just doing things and stuff is one of the hardest parts that a lot of people don't understand. You come from a bigger city and stuff where you go to a play, go to this entertainment place, go to this restaurant, go to this store, go shopping. Here, yes, some places do have it and stuff, but most of the joys and stuff come from being outside, relaxing in the sun, being on the river, being in the mountains, being in the plains. Even just a lot of the work and stuff that happens around here is very relaxing and therapeutic. A lot of people say it's hard, but that's because they don't want people finding out how relaxing a lot of the work they can do is. But I'll wrap it up for today. If you have any questions, reach out on social media at any of our channels on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, all the above and stuff, or even just email us at montanawizard.com. And even can find us on our own website too, where you can listen to these. So thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to shop at Mountain Wizard, our sponsored, where you can get a Bucking Montana shirt or even a Montana hat. So head on over there, and if you have any more questions, I'd be glad to answer them in the next podcast. Thanks.